hope to be. I am one step closer to the finish line. I know that every stride will lead me to my destiny, and I'm one reach away from taking what is mine. I believe that I'm unstoppable. I believe I've only just begun. I will conquer, I will fly, reach my peak, I will. And there's nothing that can ever bring me down. I believe that dreams are tameable. And I believe that wings were made to fly. I'll touch the sky, reach for the stars, do the impossible. I believe that nothing can. I believe that nothing will. I believe nothing will ever bring me down. I've been down the road where failure seemed familiar. No one thought that I would ever come this far. When everything was telling me that it was over, still there was a fire burning in my heart. There were days I felt like I was at my lowest. I pushed so hard I couldn't see beyond the pain. I never knew I made it high enough to notice I'm getting closer, stronger than I've ever been. I believe that I'm unstoppable. I believe I've only just begun. I will conquer, I will fly, reach my peak, I will. And there's nothing that can ever bring me down. I am living proof that nothing is impossible. I beat the odds when hope was nowhere to be found. There was a strength that carried me through every obstacle. It lets me know that it's too late to give up now. And I am not afraid to climb another mountain, to risk it all, to face my deepest, darkest fear, to live a dream much bigger than I can imagine. 'Cause I want the world to know that I am here. I believe that I'm unstoppable. I believe I've only just begun. I will conquer, I will fly, reach my peak, I will. And there's nothing that can ever bring me down. I believe that dreams are untamable. And I believe
Scaling up in your academic performance shouldn't be a hurdle. Imagine getting support from a product that cares. PQ by Edves. Take mock tests and exams on external exams of your choice, such as WAEC, NECO, IGCSE, and more. Get to know your weaknesses and strengths in various subjects after each test through analyzed data. Click on the link to get started now. Schools do not have to let the number of classrooms available limit their potential for growth. With PL by Edves, you can offer your curriculum to thousands of students all over the world with pre-recorded content and live, one-on-one, or group tutoring. Parents can now gain access to tutors in the best schools in the world for their child. No need to pay exorbitant fees while turning the area of weakness to strength for your children with a personalized learning tailored to their best learning method. Students can now learn topics and subjects of their choice from schools and tutors all over the world at their own pace and learning style.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the School Growth Academy series, our webinar series that has touched a lot of educators' lives and have improved school processes over the years. My name is Nenna Okore. I'm the Director for Learning and Research at Edves, and I'm your amiable host for this webinar. Before we start, I would like to invite Olaolu to give us a keynote speech on the welcome address. Olaolu is the head of growth at Edves, and I'm sure he's right here waiting to give us his keynote address. So Olaolu, hi.
Thank you so much, Inina. Thank you. Hello, everyone. You're welcome to the School Growth Academy webinar for August edition. You're greatly welcomed. And my name is Olaolu Olali. As Inina said, I'm the head of growth at Edves. And basically, this month we're going to be talking about financial management for schools. SGA webinar has been very impactful for a lot of people, a lot of students, a lot of teachers, school owners, and I know that this topic for today, financial management for school, is very important for school owners, important for administrators, also important for the board, that people that are responsible to managing the finances of the school. And we've been doing this school growth webinar for a while right now, and a lot of people have been impacted by it. We've been getting so many positive feedbacks, from people. So what I just want everyone to do is, I want everyone to relax. I want you to have your writing material, have your notepad, your tab, to jot one or two things that is going to be that our panelists are going to be dishing out to us. They are going to be dissecting this financial management for schools, and I know that some of the things that we're going to be hearing today, we'll be able to implement some of these things going forward in the next term, when next term resumes, and also when schools resume. Thank you very much. You are welcome to this edition. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Laolu. I'm sure we all heard the welcome address. Just to summarize, the SGA webinar is a CSR initiative by the Edves team to help school leaders and educators reimagine education and give them more ideas to be able to boost the educational practices. I'm so glad to be here. I'm sure we've gained a lot of things over the month since we started the SGA webinar. And I would like you to comment in your chat box one thing that you have gained over the month attending the SGA webinars. If it's your first time attending the SGA webinar, thank you very much for coming. I would need you to also type in the chat box in the comment section, introducing yourself and where you're joining us from. Thank you very much. Already here and they've joined us. Please let us know where you're joining us from, the country and the region where you're likely joining us from. Thank you for coming, Esther Sebarugu. So many people are joining us live from different platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Thank you very much for joining us from wherever you are. We know that this session is going to be quite engaging and exciting for us, and will also give us more ideas to run our school in the coming session. Thank you, Erima Odibo, joining us from Lagos. Thank you, Fagmark from Oyo Town. Christina Yusuf is joining us from Abuja. Thank you, Samson Aliyu, also joining us from Abuja. Thank you very, very much. All right, so I would like to, without further ado, introduce our speakers for today, our honorable speakers for today. I'd like to start from one of us. He's the head of product, and he's also been in the financial sector for a very long time before becoming the head of product for Edves. I'd like to introduce him. He's a very special person to us. His name is Kolade Oriolowo. Kolade, can you say hi to us?
Yeah, hi everyone. Really, really great to be here. I'm excited about another opportunity to be able to talk about one of the important aspects of school business, which is financial management. So I'm sure we're going to have a very, very great time today. Really great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kolade. It's been a pleasure working with you as well. Kolade has loads of ideas about how organizations can scale up financially. I also have here with me Olasoji Odunayo. Olasoji Odunayo is a seasoned accountant, a tax professional, and a public speaker with a strong bias for small and medium-scale businesses, non-profits, and faith-based organizations. He has specialized in helping heads of these organizations make better and more informed financial and investment decisions by helping them create structures and systems that allow for order and lasting organic growth. He's a strict proponent of order, growth, and a strict compliance structure proponent as well. He has a life target of reaching and directly influencing 1 million businesses and entrepreneurs with his message of structure. To achieve this, he currently runs 2 classes on a monthly basis, the bookkeeping and tax Q&A class and the DIY bookkeeping and tax masterclass. He also partners with Link Simple Business Academy to run the Strategy Factory, a monthly sales strategy session for business owners. Having practiced in the private sector for 8 years across real estate, education, and non-profit sectors, he founded Sporus Consult, a bookkeeping, accounting, and tax consulting company in Lagos, and the AAA Project, a campaign for financially sound corporate governance created for heads of faith-based organizations. He's happily married to Olabisi with a beautiful daughter. This is a lot. I'm sure you've touched a lot of lives and a lot of businesses, especially the small and medium scale businesses. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Dunayo.
Thank you for having me. It's always a privilege to help business owners find their footing, in these areas, and I'll be glad to do the same today. I hope it's as impactful as we all expect. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so joining us later is Temitope Amujo. He's going to be joining us later. He's a conceptualist and development finance expert, presently the chairman of Amu Gold Group and the producer of Jimpo Ori, shea butter, atalilo, pepper spices, and Go essential oils. Basically, he's more involved in scaling up the agricultural sector financially. He's an award-winning sustainable agricultural value chain developer, a business concept developer, a one-time banker, and an experienced financial analyst. He was a university scholar from the University of Ilorin, a first and second degree holder from the Better by Far University, and now a successful business entrepreneur. So Tokpe Amujo will be joining us later as we proceed in the show. Thank you to all my panelists for joining, and I hope our audience are ready. You have your pen and your paper to jot down points that you can apply practically in your schools. So before we start our session for the day, I'd like us to watch a short video clip on e-payments.
Edves is Africa's leading digital educational platform, which enables administration, communication, finance, teaching, and learning beyond the classroom. Edves allows you as a parent to access and track your child's academic reports and personal growth at any time, giving you a better understanding of your child's academic performance.
Have a nice day at school.
We give you the security and reassurance you need to excel in your daily activities and manage your financial obligations to your child's education. Edves provides an administrative and management system which enhances accountability, teamwork, and growth needed for a thriving organization. Which brings perfect results. Teach creatively, learn effectively, track your child's performance easily, and do so much more with Edves. Edves, digital education. Visit www.edves.net to get started now.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. That was a short clip based on what Edves offers financially and other processes for schools. Okay, so I would like to go straight into the topic. Our topic for today is financial management for schools improvements. For schools improvement. So it's not just about gaining the financial knowledge, financial management knowledge, but it's also about how to use it to scale up your school processes. So, according to a study by Mestre in 2003, the study discovered that many school principals and school owners are usually placed under tremendous pressure to manage their school finances. They're unable to construct practical solutions to financial problems, mostly on account of their lack of financial knowledge, skills, and expertise. In many instances, it has been reported that school principals and owners, you know, end up getting into bankruptcy because they are not able to meet up with financial expectations and financial obligations, and as well as having issues of fraud, pilfering of cash, theft, and improper control of financial records. So this is so prevalent in a lot of schools in Africa. And perhaps one of the major issues they face, that school owners face, is proper record keeping and accounting. And also a lot of educators set up schools without getting adequate financial training. You just see someone says, oh, I have passion for education, and then he or she sets up a school without getting adequate training, financial training on how to run a school. So at the end, they go into bankruptcy because even on their board, they do not even have credible finance. They don't get credible financial advice from professionals. So it is very important for us to note that educational services, whether public or private, cannot be delivered, or educational services, yes, cannot be delivered without adequate knowledge of financial planning and budgeting, and inventory and auditing at the same time. If you want to deliver high quality education, it's important to have all these necessary skills in order to thrive, especially in a competitive world. We all know that education in Africa, especially private education in Africa, is becoming highly competitive, highly competitive. So this program is for us to learn and get more ideas on how to scale up our businesses as business owners. I always call school owners business owners because education is our business. So we need to learn ways to scale up and how to become better in our practices, how to become better in delivering services to our clients, who are the students and the parents. So I'll go straight into my question. Please, if you have any question, you can always type in the comment section, and then we'll respond to such questions as the program goes on. So I'll start with the very first question. The first question is directed to all the panelists here. Can you bring up my panelists so I can see their faces? Thank you. All right, so thank you very much for joining us once again. Mr. Lasoji Odunayo, can I call you Lasoji or Mr. Odunayo? You're muted, actually.
Olasoji is fine. Olasoji is fine.
Okay, so Olasoji, fine.
Yes.
All right, so I would like to know your view. What is the essence of of school financial management? What is the essence of school financial management?
All right. So thank you once again. And so when talking about a topic like this, I like that. Okay, we are speaking with educationists. All right. So usually we start with definition of terms. All right. So try and understand what exactly we're talking about, and and then we talk about what is the essence of it. So when we're talking about school financial management or school finance management, we are basically talking about all the processes that helps the school to plan, regulate, and execute a proper strategy. Let me repeat it again. a list of all the processes that helps the school to plan, to regulate, to execute a proper strategy for their budgeting, for their bookkeeping, for their reporting, and for asset maintenance, particularly. Now, these are key critical areas when it comes to managing a school or education environment. All right. So the administration of the school is saddled with the responsibility to work with all the stakeholders, the parents, the staff within the school, vendors, regulatory organizations like the government and their agencies, and everybody, to ensure that they have a proper system in place for planning, regulating, and executing all the strategies that I talk about, strategy in budgeting, in bookkeeping, in reporting, and in asset maintenance. Now, the essence of it is very simple. You know, this common saying we have, that the person that fails to plan has already planned to fail. All right. So most of the time, the challenge with businesses generally, in our climb, not just with schools, but of course, particularly with schools, is the usual trend is that most of us start businesses, most of us have money, and then we decide, what can I do with this money? All right. And then maybe wherever the money came from, I've worked for some time, I've saved some money, or whatever it is, or I got retirement benefits or some other things. And then we decide, what can I do with this money? And then we decide, oh yeah, people are giving birth every day, so school business is a great business. So we start without proper planning. All right. So what proper management is saying no is that there should be a proper planning to your budgetary controls, proper planning, to your bookkeeping, keeping the records of the school, proper planning, to every other aspect of the business. All right. And that is the purpose, that is the essence, of what we're going to be talking about, today. All right. I think I'm going to stop there, for the other panelists.
Very much. The part that got me cracking was where you said a business owner says, okay, I've got money to invest, and then people are giving birth every day, so maybe I should just open a school. That should be the wrongest vision or mission for setting up a school ever.
Exactly.
And there's a saying that goes like, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So I'm going to direct this next question to Kolade. So Kolade, I'd like to ask, what do you think is the impact of having records and data, in financial management in schools? What is the impact of keeping records and having data on financial management in schools?
Okay, thank you very much. So I will start from talking about using records and data for planning. So, for example, at the beginning of a term, when a school owner needs to plan out how much needs to be spent on particular amenities possible, if you have an hostel, how much you want to spend on food for the students, how much you need to buy equipment, whatever it is, where you typically should start from is how much you spent the year before. Okay, because that will give you like a foundation to now say, okay, if things are going to get a bit more expensive, we need to have this additional amount of money or whatever. But if you don't even have any record stored before, how do you even plan for a future? Because one of the things about improving your processes and managing your finances better is by first looking at how much you spend on particular things, and then using that to sort of budget to see how much you want to spend over the next couple of months. So, and when it comes to budgeting, it could be near term, it could be a short term budget. For some people, they even do weekly, some daily. But for schools, you want to have a view of what you want to do within a term and within a session. To be able to know all the lines of cost that you incur. And when also tying into record keeping is knowing all the things you spend money on, possibly starting to classify, categorize. Some of it could be payroll, paying staff salaries, knowing how much that is. If you have a school bus, how much it costs for you to maintain it. If you have to buy materials, possibly laboratory and consumables that you need to spend money on, you need to know how much that is. For pen and paper, everything, you need to have proper records and classify them, because it's your record that you've kept over the years that helps you when you want to begin a new term. And as right now, most schools have gone on vacation and the new session is about to happen, you don't start planning in the middle of the session or the term. You have to start planning before. So planning should ideally already be taking place. And I believe that's even the reason why we're having this conversation at this point. So I will stop at that just to talk about the impact of record and using that to plan. Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things I got from your answer is that record keeping doesn't start in the middle of the term. It starts from the beginning of the session. And the kind of data that you collect should be from past records. It will give you an idea on the exact thing to look out for in the next budget plan that you have, So you go to, I've had cases where school owners, you go to in the beginning of the session, and then they tell you things like, oh, we haven't gotten our uniforms yet. Oh, books are coming in the middle of the term. And you get it gets me wondering that, okay, what has been going on in the previous year that students have already resumed school? This is 4th week or 5th week, and then children don't have books, children don't have, some children don't have uniforms, So all those things hinder the learning processes of schools, because if you don't provide all these things, if you don't do proper budget to provide all these things, it will affect the running of the school in one way or the other. So that takes me to the next question, but I think Mr. Tokwe Amujo is here. I don't know if he has joined us backstage or if he's joined us in the show. I'd like him to come on board and say hello to the audience. Okay, so we'll still wait for him to come on board. All right, thank you. Now let's go to the next question. What are the possible problems experienced regarding the management of school finances? I'll throw this open to both of you. I'll start with Mr. Odunayo. What do you think are the possible challenges or problems experienced regarding the management of school finances?
All right, thank you so much for this question. So I'm going to be talking about two major problems, and I'm going to be very practical, from my experience working with schools and managing school finance myself. And I'm going to talk about two major things. Mr. Kolade started talking about one of them, and that is the fact, that most schools have problems having a proper bookkeeping system. All right, and you'll be shocked how many schools have this challenge. Even sometimes I've had to, as a professional, I've had to work with organizations sometimes, and you see some big schools and you see their records are all over the place. All right, they are not, and the challenge with that is the fact that it becomes difficult to have budgetary control. All right, now what a lot of school owners do not know, and this even affects other businesses, not just schools, but particularly for schools, a major issue is the fact that having a budget is like the live wire of running a proper financial system. It's like, and that is why you see, even even as it regards running our country, Nigeria, for instance, you will see a situation where if the budget is like the main thing upon which everything about the economy runs. When the budget is not yet passed, it seems as though the economy is grounded. It's not moving until it is passed and implementation begins. All right, and the reason is very simple. You cannot build something on nothing. All right. So most of the time, a lot of schools, because there are no records, it is difficult to be able to develop a proper budget, a proper budgetary system. And when there's and most of the time, this is because either there's no professional help. Of course, most of the time you see most schools, the accountant is probably some school leaver that just keeps the record, just writes money that comes in, money that goes out. And accounting is beyond just keeping records of money that came in, money that goes out. That information has to be translated into a form where it will be usable for decision-making process. And someone that does not have an understanding of what the information should be used for cannot do that, all right? And then most of the time for schools, there are no budgetary reviews consistently. They don't have situations where they look at their budget from time to time and check, do an appraisal of the budget. How far have we gone with implementing this budget? All right, what are the reasons for the variances? Because definitely there will always be variances. There's difference between a budget and the actual spendings and the actual incomes that comes in. There will always be that difference. How do we explain the differences? What steps should we take when there are variances, either a shortfall or a surplus? All right, these are things that most school owners don't, and this is a major problem, because with that you will see a situation where things seem to happen to the management of the school by surprise. All right, Mr. Kolade was saying the fact that now the schools are on break right now, and a lot of school owners are supposed to be putting a lot of things in place. And part of the thing that is supposed to be put in place is the budget for the new session, not just for the new term. We're going to a new session right now. There should be a budget that runs for the old session, broken down into the different terms, broken down into the different months, possibly broken down into different weeks, all the different activities. We're having inter-house sports, we're having end of the year party, we're having a debate, literally debating, we're going for excursion. These are things that will be infused into the budgeting process. But a lot of times this is a major problem for school owners. The second problem I'm going to mention, all right, is a lack of transparency with school owners. And this is what I mean by this. Now, most of the time for school owners, unlike now, recently the CAC enforced that most schools, when schools are registered, they should be registered as limited liability companies. Before now, most schools were registered as business name. And the problem with business name is the fact that it's a sole proprietorship. It's only one person that owns it. That one person is the alpha and omega of the school. He runs the show. He determines which money comes in, which money goes out. All right. When he has a burial for his mother-in-law, his mother, it dips his hand into the pockets of the school, takes it. When he has, personal expenses, he wants to spend, for one thing or the other, it dips his hand into the pocket of the school, and takes it. The problem with that, unlike most limited liability companies or public companies that are required to report, all right, and when you are required to report, you have this sense where you feel like you have to do things right, because you know that someone is going to look at your report and give an opinion if you have not been doing things right. All right, now, because of the fact that most of the time most school owners are everything and they don't have anybody to be accountable to, all right, most of the time they run the show alone. And if the person doesn't understand how to run finances, the school will be in dire straits most of the time, looking for funds when funds would have been properly managed to attend, to especially short-term obligations. So you have situations where schools are not able to pay back loans when they get. You have situations where schools are not able to pay rent for the facility they are using. A lot of things. You have situations where schools collect uniform money for payment for uniforms from parents, and they are not able to pay vendors of uniforms and all of that. You begin to find a lot of sharp practices. Why? Because the owner of the school is not responsible to anybody. As I said, we can go on and on talking about the problems, but I think I'm going to stop here. All right. And allow other panelists to also agree on this.
A lot of problems. A lot of problems. And probably this is one of the reasons why a lot of schools don't scale up. You see a school that opens up, within 5 years, they've shut down. Within 5 years, they've lost a number of students, and then they can't pay salaries, they can't afford to set more standardized practices, like getting more equipment and facilities for the school. So, Kolade, what do you think? Do you have any other thing to add to what Olasoji has just mentioned on the problems of financial management in schools?
Okay, so I'll just start by maybe leveraging on what he said earlier. One of it I would say is about something that some people will call like the ostrich principle, which is when there is a problem, some people try to ignore it and just bury their head. And for people that don't have a clear-cut budget that is very visible, where and just to mention, even the amount of money you are expecting inflow, school fees that you're expecting based on the number of enrollment you target, and which normally is what we even call the principal budget factor, which is the amount of revenue you are expecting, and then ensuring that your costs do not keep at a particular level and ensure that you're able to meet your obligations and everything. So it's only people that have that ostrich mentality of just burying your head and thinking all problems will go away, that just keep spending money randomly and expect things to fit in. So it's important for schools to start from that. And I'll just talk about that part of even starting from the principal budget factor, which is how many students are you expecting to come to enroll for the new session? Okay, what are you thinking about in terms of the school fees, how much you're supposed to pay, and then of course multiplying the number of students by the school fees per child, different classes, those variations might still come, would give you a particular high level sum that you know that, okay, we're expecting so amount, so millions to come in within first term, second term, third term. So that already lets you to know that if we want to retain a certain amount for maybe new projects we want to run, we can easily tell that if we're expecting, for example, say 20 million and 10 million has to carry all our expenses, then we know we have only 10 million. And also on the other side, if you're expecting 20 million and you see all the things you need to pay for, all your expenses, possibly you are repaying back a loan, you have some financing obligation, you have social number of teachers, you're paying salaries and everything. By the time you look at your entire cost lines, and you see that definitely your cost lines are more than the revenue you're expecting. So at the beginning of budgeting, the reality you are about to face comes up. And even things like if you know that you have issues with fees collection, which we'll talk about later, that you don't get 100% of your fees coming in, then you even factor that in to know that, okay, maybe it's even 90% of our total top line revenue that we're going to be able to get. So this should guide how we should spend money. So at the beginning, once all of these things are clear and properly laid out, yes, you might give some allowance, things might become more expensive than what you expect, but with those allowances and all of that, based on historical records you get, you can start that budgeting process. And just to be frank, I think one of the other reasons why people struggle with budgeting is when you're still using manual processes. So when a school is starting off with just a couple of students, say 5, 10 students, it's easy to be keeping everything in just manual records. But as you begin to grow and you get more and more students, it's not easy to always just be returning back to paper all the time. And that's why you see that organizations that have ambitions to begin to grow and scale up rapidly, you want to move to getting 200 students, 500 students, 1,000 students, opening another arm of your school and beginning to expand. At that moment, you can't be thinking paper. You have to have already built systems. And somebody had mentioned about bookkeeping, using proper financial accounting standards in terms of keeping your records, and even using proper systems that can help you to be able to carry out these budgeting approaches. So these are some key things that every school owner needs to be aware of. Unfortunately, some people are not really good with numbers. I've had to work with people like that are not good with numbers. If you know numbers are not your strength, you can easily get someone that is trusted, vetted, a professional that you can work with. And of course, what you just need to do is have a system. And that's what a system like Edves does for you. Have a system where you know what to come and check for every day. Okay, you're expecting 20 million to come in, and then you can easily see how much has come in at this point. You can easily track to monitor, because apart from budgeting, there is also the implementation of budgets. And as the other panelists mentioned earlier, there's also tracking to say, okay, we agreed to spend 50,000 on this. Now the price is 60,000, which is a variance in the budget, which you also need to begin to track and know the impact of every variance on your budget in real time. You need to be aware of all these things. So I will stop at this point as we proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Kolade. Thank you so much. That was a very, 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 very valid point that you raised about automating your financial processes, automating your financial processes. I've gone to schools where the bursar says, oh, I can't find the school fees record of a parent. Oh, I don't think this parent has paid. I can't find where I wrote down their names. A parent says, oh, I've paid for uniforms. I paid for 3 pairs. You gave me just 1. And there's no evidence to even back up that claim. So it's like a back and forth thing. And it's the major thing that gives a lot of school owners some headache, in running the school. And you even find areas where even in terms of payment, you see someone collecting cash from parents on behalf of the school, and then that's when parents comes in and all that. So these are problems that school owners face in running their financial management. So I have here with me Tokwe Amujo. I don't know if he's here now so that he can say hi to the audience. We've already sung your praises and talked about you and everything you've been doing to boost agricultural development in Nigeria. I want to learn from you some of the things that you, some of the methods that you use in boosting agricultural sector in Nigeria. How, if we could, copy same in the educational sector as well. So you're welcome, Mr. Tokwe Amujo. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the inconvenience. I'm actually joining from one of the conference that I came to do here. So I had a little challenge technologically. So it's good to be in your midst, and I'm happy to share my experience when the time comes.
All right. So the time is now because you're answering the next question.
Oh,
so are you ready?
Brilliant.
All right. So I would like you to share with us what are the most effective steps to implement when designing a budget for an academic session. What do you think are the most effective steps to implement?
Yes. From what the previous speakers has actually said and what we know to be from my financial experience, a budget is the projected incomes and expenses of an organization, school or manufacturing or anything. It could be personal as well, what I'm expecting to earn and what I'm expecting to also spend. So what you need to put into consideration when you are planning a budget is the inflow, because there can't be outflow without inflow. Yes, inflow could be from your conventional operations or from a debt or from any other sources. But what you first must consider is the inflow. And I like what the initial speaker mentioned, that you need to look at the head counts, because an average school is making money from where? Maybe school fees and some other things. So if you want to put up a budget for your school specifically, you need to look out for the income streams. So you first identify your income streams. Yes, some schools could earn money from school fees, some from selling of uniforms, some from bookshops, different works, income.
All right, I think we lost Mr. Tokwe Amujo there. We hope he will come back. I would like to continue the questioning with Mr. Odunayo Olasoji. Can you please continue? What do you think are the most effective steps to implement when designing a budget? So he's talked about your income flow. What level of income do you have before you even start planning for the next thing, the expenditure and all that? So could you throw more light on that?
All right. Thank you so much. I hope I'm not muted. All right. Okay. So I'll just pick up from where he stopped. All right. So in a budgetary process, all right, I usually like talking about it. In a budgetary process, I like talking about it from an angle of the 4 stages of the budget process. All right. Mr. Tokwe has started talking about one of them. All right. Number one is doing a review of historical records. All right. So you want to ask, first of all, as Mr. Tokwe started talking about income. All right. First of all, what was our income? As a school, for instance, your major source of income are the number of enrollments, in the school. All right. What is the tuition? and you need to break that income down into the different elements of the income. As a school, the peculiarity of school payment a lot of times is that parents don't just pay tuition, all right, pay for uniform, pay for a number of other things that sometimes have their own expense cost. So for instance, when a parent pays for uniform, that uniform payment, for instance, is not an income to the school like that. Of course, there's an element of it, that is the margin for the school, but the most part of it is majorly, to pay the vendors that are making the uniform and all that. So that income has to be broken down. So you find out, how much income did we get, last session. All right. So we look at what were our expenses, all right, from the income we had, and then you begin to break down your previous expense. All right. Of course, if this is a new school, you might not necessarily have that, or you could do that by finding out from some other schools within your vicinity or within the environment you are operating in, or whatever it is that do, the same kind of school you want to run. All right. And then find out, what is their income like, what is their expenditure like. Then the second, stage, after doing a review of historical data or previous data, and then you now want to go into planning. What are we projecting for this new term? What are the plans we have for this new term? All right. And the reason why your plans will affect your budget is very simple. For instance, is the school planning, to start a new class? Maybe the school has been running as a daycare before, and then you want to move on to start running nursery and primary. That means that your income streams are going to increase. That means that your expenses also are going to increase also, maybe astronomically. As a matter of fact, because now you have to factor in a lot of expenses that you didn't used to have when you were just running a crèche or a daycare. All right. So you want to look at what are the plans for the new term. All right. So we are planning to have a literary and debating competition, a national literary and debating competition as a school. You want to put that into your plan. So you create plan for the term. Then after that, the next thing in the process is to now forecast based on your plan. Forecast these particular parts of our plans. We are planning to have this number of students. Forecast how much income is going to come from this, number of students that we're expecting. Then these expenses, all your different lines of expenditure. We are planning to have new staff. How much salary are we going to be paying each of these people? All right. And then you basically forecast whatever income and expenditure is going to come through all of those different plans that you have. Of course, the last thing is implementation and continuous review. Now, budgeting, having a budget is usually fanciful. A lot of people take pride in having a budget or having a plan, but having a plan is no plan in itself. All right. The important thing about having a plan is actually the implementation and monitoring or ensuring that you keep to your plan. All right. So continuous appraisal as you implement the budget. All right. And this is an area where most schools are deficient. All right. There has to be, a system where, of course, maybe the school has a bursar or has an accountant in combination with the management, where consistently there's a review as at so week. All right. For instance, a time is usually about 12 to 13 weeks. As at so week, this is what we expect that we'll have spent. This is what we have spent. Why is the difference? What should we need to change? Do we need to cut back down on this? Do we need to increase this? Whatever, do we need to increase our publicity? We have expected this amount of income is not coming in. Should we spend more on publicity? A lot of things need to be. So implementation, and appraisal, continuous appraisal is the last issue. I talked about, first of all, review of historical data. Number 2 is planning, creating your plans. Number 3, is creating forecast based on the plan. And of course, number 4 is implementation and continuous appraisal. And that for me makes a complete budgetary process.
Wow. So that's awesome. You've already given us 4 steps, and I'm sure our viewers and audience have listened and they're taking note of all these things, And one thing of significance is that it's very important for us to always have constant review Don't just create a budget and leave it hanging, but you should have constant review of what is working and what is not working at the same time. Now, this brings me to an argument that a lot of school owners have about budgeting. Some believe that short-term budgeting is better than long-term budgeting. So what do you think about this? A lot of school owners believe that you should do your budgeting for the whole session, while some believe we should take it in chunks and do for first term, for second term, and for third term. So it shouldn't occur at the same time because it should give flexibility or room for changes in between. So what's your own opinion? Do you think this is actually correct or true? I'll leave that to Kolade.
Okay, yeah. So I would say that both are actually important in the sense that you need to plan long term and still have some element of short term. And the truth is this, because of the volatility and the inflation rate in Nigeria, there's a need to constantly review things. Okay. If, for example, you had something that you were using up in the school and that particular item was imported. Now, with the fluctuation with the FX rate and everything, you know that prices can easily double within a month. So if you were only relying on long-term budgets as your as a budget that is guiding all the things you're implementing, then before you know, you've run into trouble and you're still trying to force yourself to stick with your long-term budget. So, and that's why when you do your variance analysis, which is even though you have a long-term budget, at the end of each month, okay, you review what has happened, and then that can make you to make some changes to your budget, okay, which is in a way a short-term budget where the review period is actually just a 30-day period. So that is one way to be able to look at it. But then it's always important to still think long-term. But of course, the best any one of us can do is what is called forecasting, okay, which is just working with the current information you have. You try and picture how you expect the future to play out. But in the reality, the future never plays out in that particular way. So even though you have a long-term budget, you start with looking at the entire 1 year period. There are people that plan as far as 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay. And it's always important to ensure, because it's important to tie this to the vision of the organization, okay, which is of the school, as it were. Say the example Mr. Lasiji used earlier, I started out as a daycare. It could be that the long-term goal of the founders, the owners of the school, and the administrators is for the school to have different arms, like a primary arm, a secondary arm, and some people go even as far as thinking tertiary, okay, depending on the vision, what you want to achieve. And if we just, okay, we want to have multiple secondary schools, because there's one particular thing about businesses. A business can never really be static, as it were. You are either growing or sort of retrogressing, as it were. So, and if you have plans, if you don't want to retrogress, you have to grow. Okay, and in that case, when you need to grow, then you need to plan out what your 12 months will look like for you, what your 24 months will look like for you, what your 36 months, which is 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years, will look at for you. And that's why you can't do away without without a long-term budget. And even when you're beginning to plan out your growth process, and because budgeting here, we're tying it to schools that have the ambitions to grow, and because of the value that schools deliver in terms of helping students to acquire education, I believe any good school owes this nation growth. And what I mean by that is that every good school that is delivering quality education has to grow to help more students. And maybe in another webinar, we'll be able to talk about the different ways you can grow. Okay, but because you need to grow, then you need to look at, okay, if we're adding an additional class, then if it's going to be in the space of 1 year, we need to plan. If constructing a new building is what needs to be done for us to add additional classes, then we know that that means if you want to construct that building, say February next year, then you can't do short-term budgeting and be thinking one-term. You have to know that, okay, of all the revenue that we're going to be getting, of all the school fees that are going to be coming in within this period, then we need to save so amount towards the construction of the new block of buildings we want to have. Okay, so those are the reasons why you cannot plan in a short term too much, because you have a vision that you want to achieve, and the vision is usually in the long term. Goals, visions like that, usually in the long term. So I would say there's an element of short term planning that feeds into the long term planning. Thank you very much.
Amazing, amazing. I hope you are jotting down things. I can't see a lot of us commenting anymore. Probably they are all jotting down things as from what they are learning so far. So we'll go on a short break, and then we'll be watching a video on e-payments during the short break. When we return, we'll be talking about auditing, inventory, and we'll also be talking about multiple streams of income for schools and school fees collection. So let's go on the break. And auditing. Hi, welcome back. We've been learning so much. We've learned about budgeting. We've learned about what financial management is all about. Mr. Odunayo also gave us 4 tips on how to construct a budgeting system. So I'm sure Mr. Tokpe Amujo is back with us, and I would like him to talk about something that a lot of businesses run away from, not just school owners, but a lot of businesses run away from, and that is auditing. Mr. Tokpe Amuja, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so I would like you to tell us why auditing is really, really important. Even some of our government runs away from auditing. So why is it that people run away from auditing, and why is it really important? Is it witch hunting? A lot of people see auditing as witch hunting. The moment you see school owners hear that auditors are coming from the tax office or from another company, they are all jittering, So why is auditing really important for a school business?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, as we all know, that every business management processes had different stages. There is a stage to plan, and I like the way it has been analyzed, the budgeting and the likes. There is a way to organize and implement things. And there is also a way to control. It's one of the management process. So auditing is one of the key areas that you look into when you are looking at control. You see, the truth about planning is that when you are making a review of your plan, you need to control it with a set indicators. So the first thing is that auditing is very important for you as an organization to know if you are working in line with your plans. That is number one. Number two, auditing is also important for you to ascertain where you have gone wrong in case things are not working right. And the next thing is, even if things are working out, you also need to audit to see signals of failure in the future. So audit is not a witch hunting instrument, it's a part of a planning instrument. Like it was mentioned, if you don't plan, you are planning to fail. So the truth is that even if you plan and you are implementing, if you plan and you don't implement your plan, is another waste of time. Now, even when you are implementing your plan and you don't control all the variables, then is another source of failure. So audit is an instrument to control your variables, be sure that you are achieving your projected plans. And how do you do this? You need to come up with a key performance indicators, because like you need to know that there are two basic type of audit, the internal audit and the external audit. When you talked about auditors coming from regulatory authorities or from the tax authorities or wherever, those are more of external audits. They come in to check you in line with a certain key performance indices. So it could be maybe your school has the required facilities. It could be whether, so it depends on what the people that is doing the audit wanted to check. But one thing that is important for you to pass whether any form of external audit is to have an internal audit process. Any school or organization that does not have an internal audit process are likely going to be going through problems when it is time for them to face external auditors. Number one, internal audit should involve, that is, how do you set up an internal control now? Number one, it has to involve you assessing your daily operations in line with your projected outcomes. Let's take, for example, we want to have 100 enrollment in this term. Break it down. How do you want to achieve this 100 enrollment? Is it that, okay, we want to make some publicities, and after this publicity, the radio advert should give us 5, the TV advert should give us 10, the road shows or campaigns should give us 20. Then you need to do a control to say like, okay, after this campaign, this gave us the actual figure, this does not, this does not. That is one of the way of controlling. Another way is, most especially in financing, we want to spend 100,000 naira on bills and utilities. And at a point, we are now spending 150,000 naira on bills and utility. If you are doing a daily check or monthly check or periodic check, you will be able to quickly know that your budget is, your spendings is almost more than your budget. And that is where you quickly signal. Because there is what a lot of people doesn't understand in schools. Schools run by marginal costing and marginal revenue. So if you are not monitoring and controlling your marginal cost and marginal revenue, you are already moving to failure. Because if total you could be making billions as school fees coming in, but at the long run, total cost and total revenue is not what we are considering in school. What we're considering to know that the school is profitable is the marginal revenue and the marginal cost. So the internal audit also helps you to identify where you are going wrong in some of these areas. And above all, internal audit makes you to detect fraud and irregularities in your finances or accountings. That if you are doing your internal audit as and when needed, you will be able to be well prepared for any external audit, because you must and you will have definitely detected some of these abnormalities before the external auditors comes to say you are not doing this right, you are not doing this right, or you are not doing that right. So to summarize, audit is important to achieve results and ensure profitability in schools. And also because a lot of schools make money, but because of internal fraud or some loopholes, they spend most of these monies on unbudgeted expenses, or sometimes even expenses budgeted that are irrelevant. So audit increase profits. So the extra 1 naira you spend on auditing is likely going to save you that 100 naira you are going to lose if you don't audit. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Well put. So auditing is very important, and I honestly agree with you. It's also a form of data analysis because you're analyzing the expenditure and the budget to know if you're running into deficits or if you're actually making gains as required. And I also think that school owners should be very open with their staff as regards audit processes. So I know that a lot of school owners shield the accounting system from their staff, even as high as the principal or the managers. So it's very important for us to not shield these documents from the staff and from the manager, so that everyone knows where the school is currently at, and you will not face the problem of having staff who say, but the school is making money, why am I not getting increments in salaries and all that. The audit process should be open and transparent enough for everyone to see what is actually going on at that time or at that point in the school business. So I'll go to the next question. This is one of the major problems that a lot of school owners face, and that is school fees collection. I want us to share ideas because I've spoken to a lot of school owners who tell me, man, running a school business isn't easy. It's not easy at all. We have to chase after parents. We have to run after parents. Some parents come in, they don't pay, and then after the term, they leave school, and these things affect their businesses. I know of a particular school where my son went. It was a creche. After 4 years, they had to shut down because they had a lot of debtors in their school, a lot of parents owing school fees, and they couldn't sustain the vision of the school. So how do we help school owners to how can school owners achieve at least 90% school fees collection at the point of every term, at the beginning of every term or at the beginning of every session? I'll direct this question to Kolade. Kolade will start, and then everybody will give an idea. I'm sure the school owners are itching to hear ideas.
Okay, thank you very much for this. And I was at a conversation with a friend over the weekend, last weekend, and we're saying that it's amazing how technology and some things that have helped other industries to make progress have not yet been applied fully in the school environment. Whereas school environment is the bedrock of education that everybody goes out to implement. So when it comes to school fees collection, there are some. The first thing I want to talk about is income leakages, which the other speakers have alluded to it severally. And what I'm talking about is that ensuring that all the fees that you actually collect are accounted for, that you're not losing anything to either fraud or poor record keeping and all of that. You can imagine where a parent underpays and a school does not even know somehow along the way, or a parent colludes with maybe a bossa or somebody that is handling money in the school to ensure that they underpay. So to prevent that first part of income leakage, which is the one you've even collected, be sure you can account for it. I would still say it's important to build structures. And a lot of school owners at the beginning of starting the business try to manage the finance themselves. But as the school begins to grow, you need to take your hands off that because you need to be involved in much more strategic things. But what you now need to do is to be able to have visibility in very clear times to be able to tell that yesterday, this is how much that came in. And it's always wrong for you to be calling somebody for you to confirm that. The systems you have to have should be so structured that you have somewhere, whether it's on your smartphone, and that's what something like the Edves fees management platform gives you. You can check from your smartphone, you can check from your laptop and be able to see how much you expected, how much has come in, who is still owing, who is not owing. You need to be able to see that without having to ask anyone. Because when people know that you see what is going on, it helps them to put in check. But if they know that you don't have visibility, that the same person who you're trying to monitor is the same source of information about fees, then you're already almost failing at the beginning because the same person has to tell you how much came in, who paid, and all of that. And you basically rely on somebody that you are supposed to be checking. And this is for smaller schools that are yet to go. You don't even need a very, just a small package would help you to be able to see that. So that is one leg. And the second leg would revolve around how to deal with parents. You must first understand that you're dealing with human beings. And the same parent that is buying things from you also pays for other things that they buy from other people. And this is strictly a business thing. I know it's education, but you must understand the consumer behavior. Consumer behavior, there's a way that consumers behave. And some of the things that consumers have is that when they are paying for services, whether services or goods, a consumer will be willing to pay for a service or good when they feel they have derived tremendous benefits. And one of the ways that you see other industries do it is by introducing things like discounts. Like if you want to register for an event, you will notice that people will tell you that there is what they call an early bird discount. An early bird discount is just a way to encourage someone to commit to an action early enough and make them feel like they are getting a benefit for doing that action early enough. A simple discount that you give a parent might be enough for you to be able to get your money on time. And of course, you need to have sat down and do your computation. This is where budgeting also comes in. If you're going to be giving discounts, it must make financial sense for you as an organization. And then a discount to encourage that anybody that pays school fees before the first day of school, so the person gets also benefit. Even taking a small decision as what I have mentioned now can grow your school fees collection rate from as low as 50% to as high as 70%. Okay, and another approach could be to have other benefits tied to that payment of fees, which there's a lot of flexible ways that you can go around this. Okay, now the other part is also even referral. Now, tying school fees collection to parents referring other parents to bring their children to your school. And by encouraging parents who refer other parents to come to your school, this is also tied to even growing student enrollment. Okay, you have valid quality education content, but you need to get people to actually be aware. So when parents know that if I refer another parent, I get maybe some discount off my school fees, of the school fees I have to pay, they will be encouraged, and you tell them it's time bound also to say you need to do this, and for you to benefit this, your school fees have to come in at this time. They also see the benefits. And that is the standard practice where people use, you basically are appealing to the emotions of the payer. Because in the real sense, we know the current situation in the economy and the fact that there are competing needs that are calling for the little income of the parents. And yes, people in the real sense prioritize in very, very funny ways. So we must, as school owners, we must be very, very adept enough to be able to use some of these practices. And this is not taking away the fact that also you need to have structure and systems. And this is what I mean. If you agree that fees payments must come in by the first week of the term, if that particular rule is set in place, the staff in the school who need to enforce that will watch you yourself. If a parent can come and beg you and you bend on that rule, then they know that this rule is actually not a rule. It just depends on who you talk to. So, and that's also about having a system in place that even if you're not there, everybody knows this is the way the rule works. And then the parents are sort of aware of it and the penalty they have to pay if they don't meet up with that time. So these are some of the examples of ways that we can go around having school fees collections improve. And then, of course, what is your current collection rate? You must know. I want to challenge every school owner here right now. Go back and check. Last term, at the beginning of the term, from the first day of resumption to the first week, what percentage of your fees came in? From the second week to the third week, you need to have that trend. And now agree what you want to, what an ideal situation will be for you, and then you now begin to implement strategies to achieve that ideal situation. But of course, you must have records of when these monies came in, and you need a system that can keep that record. Because keeping it manually on paper and using biro and paper will not be able to help you to analyze properly like this. So thank you very much. That would be my thoughts on this.
So engaging. I've been jotting down points, that can likely help me in future. All right. So I want to hear your idea. Mr. Olasoji Odunayo. Olasoji, are you there? What do you think? What can you add to some of the points that Kolade has given us about school fees collection?
So, Kolade has said a lot already, and I think that I wouldn't want to repeat the things he has said. All right, I wanted to emphasize on automation, but he has done that a lot. All right, and employing technology. All right, because I will just mention this point, and that is the fact that one of the those of us that are engaged in the job of creating structures and systems for organizations, one of the rules that guide us when setting up structures and systems, is that rule that never trust the user. All right. And when we say never trust the user, we say that build the system in a way that the user doesn't have a choice but to do it the way you want it done. Don't think, well, when the user gets to this point, maybe let them just use their initiative. All right. If you allow everybody to use their initiative, a lot of times what will happen is that this person will take a different action, that person will take a different action. You are not going to have standards anywhere, all right? And that is a major reason why fees don't come in, all right? Because, and that is one of the things that automation does. Automation helps you to have one general rule for everybody instead of having different rules that apply to different people. All right. So, but another major thing that I want to emphasize, apart from automation, which Mr. Kolade has already, talked a lot about, is the fact that now a lot of business owners a lot of school owners need to start running their school as a business. All right, as a proper business. And we do not have a lot of time. I would have, gone deep a little bit to explaining what a real business is. But the important thing is, you see, and I will say this now, a lot of school owners started school business as a result of their passion, for education, their passion for children, all right, their passion for, all of those things, all right. Now, the challenge they now face is that in the process of actualizing that passion, all right, or living out that passion or achieving it, all right, they end up running the school more like an NGO than as a school or as a business. And I tell people, fine, if you want to run a school as an NGO, there are churches, organizations, individuals that are running schools that are purely, non-profit based, all right, and they enroll children for free or they charge very little amounts of school fees. The goal is not to make profit. The goal is to just get people educated, to get people liberated. That is fine. But if you claim that it is a business, then that means that you would be ready to put the necessary structures in place to ensure that this runs as a business. And we should say it's a business. The central goal is profit making. All right. If we're not making profit, we can as well just close this down or find an external source of funding, and start running it as a non-profit organization. But if it's a school, and what this means is that as the owner of the business, all right, implementation must start with you. I mean, Mr. Kolada has shared a lot of great ideas, and I don't want to start repeating them, but all of these ideas, ensuring that automation happens, ensuring that there is proper planning, there's proper controls over money that comes in, that every money that comes in is accounted for, and all of that. These things cannot happen if the body language of the owner of the business doesn't show that we want things to be done right. So it starts, first of all, from the owner of the business putting their foot down, the owner of the school putting their foot, or the management of the school putting their foot down and saying, if we say this is a rule, for instance, if we say that all fees must come in at so time, or this is the basis upon which we can even stagger payment of school fees, for someone that comes in and says, okay, we, for whatever reason, we cannot be able to pay school fees. Okay, the rule now is that 70% or 50% must be paid first, then by so week, that's, of course, those rules would have been set based on, you have already checked how it will affect your cash flow also. But you understand that after you have set those rules, in the implementation, as Mr. Kolade said, you can't put these rules down, and then as the owner of the business, you are the one that, people come to and beg and say, well, maybe we should. And then you allow this, you allow that, you give this, you confuse the system. You create an impression that these rules are not necessarily rules. They can actually be bent if you are speaking with the right person eventually. And so if we begin to see the school as a business, it will become easy to implement all of these structures and ensure, because once that happens, once your income doesn't come in at the right time, trust me, it's either the school is eventually run down, all right, or eventually, you have to get an external source of funding, all right, and then that would mean, as I said, that you are running a non-profit organization, which is not bad, all right, but if that is your goal, run it as a non-profit. But if your goal is to run as a profit-making organization or as a business properly, then you must be ready as the owner of business, first of all, to subject yourself to the rules and to ensure that you see to the implementation of these rules across board, by automation and putting all the other necessary structures in place. All right, I think I'm going to stop there.
Thank you, Olasoji. That's so very impactful. I think Similola Craig has a question that I think, or it's a comment that I think there should be a balance between making profit and getting results based on quality education and the likes. Even running, I would like to respond to that. Even running as a non-profit organization or an NGO or a faith-based school, it is still important for you to manage your finance very, very well. You'll be getting fundings, right? NGOs get fundings, non-profit get fundings, and you need to give an account of how the fundings were utilized in the school. If you do not have proper records, if you do not have proper accounting processes, if you do not open up your systems to proper auditing, then you will not be able to get more fundings. I've seen a lot of educational non-profit organizations losing adequate funding from international organizations because they were not able to give proper accounting, and they were not transparent enough to open up their processes for their investors or those who are funding to know what actually they are doing. So it's very important for us to draw the line, yes, but then we also have to ensure that you are keeping proper financial record. Even as a government school, you need to keep proper financial records as well to be able to run a school effectively, so that you will not have issues such as teachers leaving your school because you can't pay salaries. You won't have issues like running out of school supplies in the middle of the term. I gave an example of a school that in the middle of the term, children hadn't gotten books or even stationaries to work with, So you need to avoid all these things. And that is where financial management comes in. So even in as much as a private school, you're running a profit organization, a profit-based organization where you have to make profit in order to scale up. Why are you making profit? It's basically to scale up and to get enough money to pay your teachers, to pay tax, to pay for, and to buy new materials to scale up the business. But then if you're running a non-for-profit, you are still getting funding, and you need to be accountable. You need to show accountability as regards how you get such funds. So I hope that clarifies the comments. Thank you so much, Simisola Craig, for your comments. These are the kind of comments we hope to see here so that we can rub and share ideas. Now, I'm moving on to my last question. I've heard or seen a lot of school owners say that the reason why they're scared of implementing policies regarding school fees collection is because they don't want to lose parents. There's this fear of losing numbers, losing enrollments, that if they tell a parent to go because they're not steady with school fees payment, then it might affect their numbers. That's one. And then secondly, they still need to collect this fee. So they give the parents a long time. And at the end of the day, some of them lose out. Now, I discussing this with them, I got up to the feeling, or I got the feeling that what if there were other avenues that they could make money? What if there were other streams of income for these school owners, so that they will be able to maintain their policies, they'll be able to maintain their funding, and they'll also be able to maintain the quality standards of the school aside school fees collection. So can you please share with us, Mr. Amuja, can you please share with us the other kind of school fees drive? It might not be school fees drive, other forms of income or streams of income that school owners can embark on, still within education, that will give them that leverage in their businesses.
Okay, thank you very much. So to address this, I want to commend the speakers that talked about increasing the school collection rate. I actually had a simple acronyms that summarizes what has been said, which I felt like I can also chip into us, and it will also help us in answering the question that has to do with increasing the income flow for schools. The acronym I said is make it safe, SAFE. If you want to increase your school fees or income collection rate, just make it safe. The S is the system. Make sure you are running through a system. It could be the IT-based system, which Edves is putting in place. It could be a system of managing your finances, like who is in charge of what, who is in charge of this. Then also authorizations. You have to have system for authorization. Who is approving someone not to pay school fees at this time and who is not? So who can we even talk to that you say, I've spoken to the proprietor, so I don't need to pay my school fees. So keep it safe. System, affordability. Make it affordable. You give quality education, but you can also still give it at an affordable rate. And that is why the issue of marginal revenue comes in. The moment you leverage on what we call economics of skills in education, you give quality education at a lesser rate, and people will be willing to pay because they will feel like we're getting this much at this rate. So even if you want to maintain the present school fees that you are collecting, then increase the value that people will get. Let them get more than what they pay. People are ready to pay promptly if they get more than what they've paid for. So make it affordable. If you can't reduce your school fees, then increase the value they get. Flexibility of financing. That's the F. Let the way people would pay their school fees be flexible. Let them have a payment scheme that you can even spread it over a longer period of time. How many schools have thought of consulting insurance companies to have a kind of a premium for parents such that the insurance company can help them pay, or the financial houses can help them pay their school fees and spread it over as long as they have good credit score. I have such options in the countries like UK, US, where you can leverage on all of this premium to pay school fees when you can't afford it as and when needed. So we can also adopt this in Nigeria, and some schools, maybe some school owners here can be the first to pilot it. You can consult with your banker. They know how much comes into your account. So you can talk to them and say, we want you to put up a structure If parent doesn't pay their school fees as and when needed, then you pay us, run after the parents, debt factoring. So all of these are what school owners should start thinking outside the box. Don't just run after parents and parents alone. Because of relationship sake, you will not want to over push them, but you can only put up a financing system that would help you recover this money with ease. And finally, efficiency. Make your school fees collection process efficient. Let it be something that will be easy for people to pay. And I like what Edves are doing, and I want them to continue with it. So efficiency of the process is very important for you to get the school fees payment quickly. Make it safe, SAFE. Now, talking about increasing the flows of income to a school. I used to say this whenever I have brainstorming session with school owners, that number one, all the facilities that you have in the school, they are not just for the teaching and teaching that you are doing. There are ways that you could use the same facility to achieve greater income outside the school fees. I don't know if this webinar we're doing is a live session, for example. Do you know that a school can consult with Edves and say, please, we want to be having a live session for some of our classes so that we would have a YouTube channel for our school. When we have a YouTube channel for our school, people already know that this school is a school of high quality, but some of them can't afford to pay for your school fees. Some parents will be happy to tell their children, to go and be watching your YouTube channel, to see some live stream of your classes. When you have more viewers on your YouTube channel, you are earning pounds, you are earning dollars, pay-per-view, pay-per-click, and all of this. So schools should not just believe that pay for school fees. If you don't pay for school fees, don't enter class. Make your class accessible to anybody, but be strategic in making money from these assets. So let the school leverage on technology that will improve income through all of these multiple streams. Look at when we used to rent video CDs. We used to go to cinemas, but now Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, many actors, actresses, they have YouTube channels. They release it for people to go and watch for free. But the truth is they are making their income as many people are viewing that channel. So that is number one. Adopt technology to increase your income outside school fees. The second approach for schools to increase their income is to use the same facility for multiple purposes. The school could have an hall, where many schools does that anyway, where they do their assembly. Why not also use it for conferences, for some purpose, and make your hall state up to date, up to standard. Let people be willing and ready to come and use your hall for different things. Well, how can this be possible? Make it technology driven as well. If your conference hall or your general hall is IT driven, yes, it's going to be like an extra investment for you, but the income is going to come. The third thing is a lot of school does after school classes, summer classes, and the likes. And some parents will like, okay, let me allow my children to stay behind or the likes. But there are these innovations that schools, yes, some school may be thinking towards that, and some may be doing it already. But most parents, we want one-to-one classes with our kids. We want teachers to engage with them. There is a way that schools can create a teaching hub And what do I mean by teaching hub? Don't just leverage teaching with the teachers that you have in class. There are a lot of teachers, there are a lot of people who studied education and they don't have job. Instead of you employing them and be paying them salary, employ them into your teachers hub. What you do is that when school already knows that your school, when parents already know that your school has a good reputation, they will be ready to entrust their kid into anybody you are bringing through your hub. What will your teachers hub do? The teachers hub will have collection of teachers that you have trained, whether employed or indirectly by you. They will be paid per hour. I could remember there are classes my kids attend and when they connect to this class on Zoom, they pay per hour. English, mathematics, and imagine this teachers hub, they are just connecting to the Zoom, and the parent is also the child is also connected to Zoom, and they start teaching them. When I observed one of the session when they were teaching one of my child, I was impressed. Some pay 30 pounds per hour, 40 pounds per hour. And the truth about it is that you can't pay directly to that teacher. You pay to the school that is assigning the teacher to you. And the school don't assign a single teacher. So it makes it like a timetable. This is an extra source of income that does not require 4 corners of the class. COVID-19 has taught a lot of people that you can learn without going into class. So you can also earn without teaching in class. So don't let your earnings be based on the learning, in-class learning. Extend it to out class. So in summary, schools can bring extra incomes from the ones that has been discussed earlier, maybe this uniform, bookshops, renting of halls and the likes, but they need to come up with bigger innovations, like using the YouTube or some live streaming channels to earn extra income, leveraging on Teachers Hub that will make sure that you have a pool of teachers, qualified teachers, certified by you, trained by you, by your school, and assign it to parents to sign up to this hub and get extra classes for their kids. You will be making more money from this. Don't be surprised that you could even be running a virtual school and make more money than when you run a physical school. Think outside the wall of your building. Think outside the wall of your school.
As in, I'm
Thank
really
you very much.
shaking my head here
Yeah.
because Mr. Tokpe Amujo has hit the nail on the head. I was even going to talk about this, but you took all the words from my mouth. It's as if we're in tune, we're syncing together. Now, I would like to address this question as well. If we adopt a YouTube channel and a live stream, don't you think people would rather homeschool their children than coming to school? How would this profit the school? Well, before I answer this question, I would like to say everything that Mr. Tokpe Amujo has been talking about, Edves has it, and we've been partnering with schools to offer this service, teaching outside the 4 walls of the classroom. And it's a product called Personalized Learning, PL by Edves. And we will share more information as time goes on. But to answer your question, Ma, I would like to let you know that research has shown that online school is becoming a major source of revenue for schools. That's the first thing you need to know. And it doesn't stop your physical school, but it gives you a greater leverage to boost your brand as a school. So what we do at PL by Edves is to give you a platform where your brand as a school can be projected to the entire world. Now, if your school building can only house, or your classroom can only house 15 to 20 students, imagine if that same classroom or that same teacher is reaching out to 100 students from all over the world. I've taught children from Canada, from UK, from US at the same time, and then they are getting knowledge. Imagine our Nigerians or Africans in diaspora learning from a school in your country, and they are getting value. The knowledge is not being lost. Their historical value. There's also traditional value, because we know that a lot of people in diaspora who are in different parts of the world still want to understand their roots and where they come from. Imagine teaching a student in Japan how to speak the Swahili language or the Yoruba language online. This is the milking cow right now of educational institutions. That is why a lot of online schools are actually being set up. And I want you to think out of the box, just like what Mr. Mujo has said. We need to start leveraging on these opportunities as a school, because if you keep saying, what if the children don't come back to school and they just prefer homeschooling, it's going to happen very soon. So what if it is the schools who are actually giving out these services? What if it is the schools who are giving out these services and not individuals? A big school comes up with an idea and then they project all their curriculum and what they do, and they sell it to the general public round the globe. You understand? So it's a very welcome idea. And I want to say a very big thank you to Mr. Mujo for giving all of us this idea. And luckily for us, unfortunately for all of us here, we have a product like that at Edves to help support schools who want to boost their brand and also push out their learning content to the entire globe. Thank you very much. So I know that this is going to be a perfect idea for collaboration with insurance and banking institutions to support parents and support school owners to scale up, to scale up in their educational service processes and all that. And let's not forget to automate all our school processes. Is very, very important. I would like to say a very big thank you to all our speakers for today. It was very mind-blowing and engaging. In fact, I feel like staying back to receive more lectures from all of them. I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Olasoji Odunayo. I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Kolade Orilowo, and thank you to Mr. Tokwe Amujo. Please bring my esteemed panelists so that we can all see them smiling at us. Men with timber and caliber, with so much ideas, I've learned a lot of things, and I'm sure many of us have jotted down things and we've stated our concern. Let's take the bull by the horn and see how we can scale up our school processes. We need to go with the tide and grow at the same time. Before we leave, we would like to call on the sales team, the growth team, to talk to us about some of our Edves packages so that the audience can learn, and then we'll call it a day. Please stay back and learn what Edves does, what Edves can do to help you automate your school processes. So I'll call on
schools do not have to let the number of classrooms available limit their potential for growth. With PL by Edves, you can offer your curriculum to thousands of students all over the world with pre-recorded content and live, one-on-one, or group tutoring. Parents can now gain access to tutors in the best schools in the world for their child. No need to pay exorbitant fees while turning the area of weakness to strength for your children with its personalized learning tailored to their best learning method. Students can now learn topics and subjects of their choice from schools and tutors all over the world at their own pace and learning style.
Oh, thank you so much, Inena. This is Timmy Tokwe from Edves. I will be talking about how Edves offers for schools. So we are currently, Edves is digitizing the manual processes for schools, and most of the things that have been mentioned here today, things like the digitizing, taking learning beyond the force of the classroom, things like digitizing the payment processes. All of these things are achievable on Edves. And one of the things we are doing right now is to encourage people that are planning towards next section to sign up on our platform. So currently on the platform, the platform has three different stages where we for administrators, for teachers, for parents, for students. And for this particular section, we are giving discounts, a good discount. So I'm sharing my screen right now so that you can see. So right now, if you're subscribing to Edves platform, you could just go. For a term, we are going to be giving you 10% discounts if you are subscribing to Edves platform for a term. Our prices ranges from 500 naira per student to 2,000 per student termly. And if you are subscribing for a term, you get 10% discount on the term. If you are subscribing for 2 terms, you get 15% discount on the subscription cost. And if you are subscribing for 3 terms, you get 20% discount. That's for a session. You get this is for prospective schools, for prospective that want to join Edves, and for existing schools. Yeah, there's also a package for you for existing schools. If you are subscribing, for those that are already on Edves that probably would like to refer us to some other schools. So recently we introduced this refer and earn package, where you can, if you refer a school, maybe your friend, your colleague that is also a school owner to us, to use Edves and take advantage of our benefits. You are going to earn a minimum of 20,000 on each school you refer to us. So you have this referral package that has been designed for you. Take advantage of it. That's the minimum you can earn. If the school have more than 100 students, you stand the chance to win, to earn 10% more commission on their first subscription. So I want us to take advantage of this offer, the one I mentioned for the prospective schools and the one I mentioned for the existing schools. So we'll be posting the link in the chat box. Try as much as possible to take advantage of these promos, and go to onboard.edves.net, and you will see the promo in the I will posted the link right now on board.edves.net to take advantage of the promo. So thank you so much, Inena, for the privilege to talk to the people today. Inena, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we've come to the end of today's session. It's been amazing. Subsequently, in our SGA webinars, we will be calling back some of our speakers to talk about some products that we have on ground, like PL by Edves. If you want to partner with us as a school to help you boost your brand and to support your learning processes and content to the general globe, or in the global community, we'll be glad to have you, and we'll also be glad to partner with you as much as possible. And we also we're open to partnerships from relevant international bodies, as well as we reimagine education in Africa. Remember, Edves is not just here to create technical products, but we're also here to help change the trajectory of educational systems in Africa by automating all school processes and making learning fun and engaging for the students and for the teachers, and giving a very positive overall experience for parents and for school owners at the same time. Thank you very much for coming, and see you at the next SGA webinar for September. My name is Nenna Okore, and I'm signing out here. Please don't forget to click on the link in the comment section if you'd like to join the referral system, or if you'd like to book a demo. Bye.
My name is Miss Latifa Ibrahim, head of school, Lekki Muslim Nigerian Primary School, Lekki Phase 1, Lagos. Starting a school in Nigeria is a smooth one, although I understand that there are rules and regulations for every different organization. So at a school, I would advise you approach Lagos State Education Board. There you get the needed information to start up a school. And managing a school, I would always advise school owners around me to always reiterate their vision and mission, and then when you have challenges, you can always take that to help you out. I heard about Edves through the IT personnel, that's Mrs. Adigun, who attended one of your trainings. Since we started using this Edves platform, I have been so particular about one outstanding result, and that has been with our result management. Before then, it's been a whole lot for us, but since Edves came on board, we've always had a smooth result management, and it's outstanding. I appreciate that. Experience with Edves, I just have a word. It's been all encompassing. Like every aspect of the school is been captured, and it's been smooth all along. For now, in all sincerity, I've always had issues with doing a lot more of paperwork. But since we had Edves on board, or we boarded Edves platform, it's been a smooth one. It's been paperwork reduced, even to the least thing you can ever expect of a school. And yes, Edves has been there for us. Technology like I always tell people around me, is here and it's going to be advancing by the day. So for every school owner, we should know that it's going to affect every aspect of our teaching and learning. And for elementary, that's the Muslim Nursery Primary School, it has helped to enhance learning and teaching. Education infused with technology. You can say an acronym of EduTech. It has come to stay. And then we all need to adopt it and know that it will get to a point where we'd all have an enhanced self-learning tools with education on board, with technology on board, then we're good to go. What are you still waiting for? What are you doing? Edves is the best that you can ever have as a school. So go on board Edves, use Edves today.
Schools do not have to let the number of classrooms available limit their potential for growth. With PL by Edves, you can offer your curriculum to thousands of students all over the world with pre-recorded content and live, one-on-one, or group tutoring. Parents can now gain access to tutors in the best schools in the world for their child. No need to pay exorbitant fees while turning the area of weakness to strength for your children with a personalized learning tailored to their best learning method. Students can now learn topics and subjects of their choice from schools and tutors all over the world at their own pace and learning style.
Edves is solving a lot of problems for us. It is centralizing all the information. Temple School has 4 locations, and so it's not easy trying to coordinate everything. You want to be able to sit and look at all the information at a glance.
I think what Edves did was they added value that was able to support our vision and our mission for the children that passed through us.
We're lucky that we were able to get the Edves team on board before the lockdown, because with that we had all the information very centrally, and having that was very easy for us to be able to communicate all the different changes.
We now don't have to go to different places to get information. So you don't need to get different spreadsheets. You don't need to get access to different reports. You can eliminate the paperwork. That helps you, you know. I can actually be at a party and I can check on my phone and know what is going on. So,
okay, we do reports, but what do these reports tell us about our students? Can we have descriptive statements? For the first time, we were able to do that at the end of the last academic session, where not only did we have the grades and ranking of the students, but every teacher had the opportunity to describe the child within their setting, how well they're doing, how well they're coping with the lessons or the subject, and the needs for them to improve. And that was, for me, a big step, because our parents actually embraced.
Edves has helped us concerning the preparation of results, has also helped us to have database of children or learners, the database of staff, database of parents, and to that extent communication with parents and staff has become a lot easier.
The quality of Edves reports has been very, very good. We have not had any cause to give a negative report.
Analyze information. I think it's the analysis. Again, I always say to the Edves team is the fact that we can analyze data. So I know children performance according to gender. Just by touching a button. I know children's performance according to class. Children's performance according to, I can access my financial information, who has paid, who hasn't paid. So I think school owners who are not on Edves, right, obviously need to be on Edves.
Use Edves today.
Use Edves today.
Use Edves today. You'll never go wrong.
I'm recommending Edves today. Make sure you get on board.
Use Edves today.
I would recommend Edves to schools, big or small schools.
Use Edves. What are you waiting for? Use Edves. Come on now.